Countdown by Ben Mikaelsen. Chapter 6 Vincent Oldtome. Vincent Oldtome returned slowly to the Ngang. The other boys walked far ahead. They laughed and sang, holding up the lion's claws and ears and bragging loudly of their kill. Mosipa swung Alarani's tail in circles over his head. For Vincent, the journey to the Ngang ended too soon. Already word of the hunt had spread, bringing quiet and accusing stares. Only Vincent's favorite mother, Penina, spoke to him. "How was my son's day?" she asked quietly. "Mama, the boys killed a lion, but I did not help." "Why did you not help?" "The lion was the great Alarani. Today he did not attack the cows. He slept beside a tree." "Has not Alarani attacked cows before?" "That is when he should have been killed," Vincent gestured. "Today, Lebu, Corio, Tinga, Mosipa, and Siparo have killed Alarani without thinking of the cows." "But did they not prove their courage?" Vincent shook his head. "There were many of them, and only one Alarani. That does not show courage. So how do you show courage?" Vincent stabbed the ground with his spear. If Lebu had thrown down his spear and grabbed Alarani's tail while he slept, that would have shown courage. "I think that would have shown he was foolish. He has already shown that many times." Penina smiled gently. "Today your father is angry at even the air he breathes. Maybe some old man's meat will make him happy. Go kill a goat." Vincent rested his spear against the Ngang and entered the small pen of goats beside the corral. This chore he did not like. With a quick movement, he grabbed a thin black goat and held its nose tightly. The goat struggled for air. Vincent looked away toward the disappearing sun until he felt the last jerks of the small body. Masai killed goats this way so that no blood would be wasted. Vincent pinched the soft nose a while longer, then carried the limp goat to Penina's small hut. Penina drained the blood into a hollow gourd. This calabash of blood she mixed with milk for drinking. The hide she saved for drying. Bones would make jewelry and knife handles. Meat and fat would cook later. Vincent squeezed dung from the long intestines and from the lower stomach. He smeared the sweet-smelling brown paste on Penina's small hut to fill cracks. The intestines he boiled in a pot for soup. Penina pulled out the tender liver and cut off pieces for herself and for Vincent. Hungrily they ate. She handed the rest to Vincent. "Here, give this to your father." Vincent obeyed. The raw liver was called old man's meat because it could be eaten by the elders with no teeth. Near Tom's small hut, two of Vincent's youngest brothers chased each other, laughing and throwing dried cow dung at each other. "Papa," Vincent called, approaching Tom's small hut. "Tijinga," answered Tom from inside, his voice cracking. Vincent crouched and entered. He searched the darkness and bowed. Tom reached weakly and touched his head. "Penina sent this for you, Papa," Vincent said. Without speaking, Tom took the old man's meat. His hand shook. His skin looked stretched over his bones. As Vincent turned to leave, Tom said, "Sit by the fire." Obediently, Vincent sat. "Are you clever?" Tom mumbled. "Yes," said Vincent, fearing the words not yet spoken. "How clever?" "As clever as a four-legged chair that does not walk." What is it that smokes but cannot be lit?" "Fresh cow dung," Vincent said. "Who has the smallest nose?" "The safari ant, Papa." Tom stared into the fire. His body swayed as if blown by the wind. "What object can never be overtaken?" "My shadow, Papa." Tom sucked in a long, shallow breath. Your shadow is like the will of Enge. She brings the rain and the sun and the darkness. Enge has made you Masai. Like your shadow, this you cannot change. I do not wish to change the will of Enge, Papa. You visit Sambike, but you do not honor your spear and hunt for lion. Papa, Sambike shows me things the Masai do not know. Someday all Masai will know that what Sambike knows. Bark from one tree does not stick to another. Tom struggled with his words. You know well the words of the Masai, but words are not dust that blows with the wind. Words should catch in the wind like the ox hair catches on the thorn. Papa, Sambike says the Masai will not last if they do not change. Tom spit into the smoldering olive wood fire. The ways of the ancients are the ways of the Masai. They teach us good and bad. The white man is the one who will not last because he forgets the ways of the ancients. Tom spit again at the fire and scoffed. Sambike is not Masai. He is a jackal who laughs at the moon. Silence hung like a heavy cloud. Tom's voice had grown weak. He motioned for Vincent to leave. Words do not touch your mind. They only bounce from your ears like chunks of goat dung. Vincent stood silently and left. After his father's angry words, Vincent Old Tom slept with troubled thoughts. He rose early. Already his mothers Nasha and Nunkishu worked in the morning's still gray air. They stood inside the corral holding up a bony young cow that swayed about on wobbly legs. The heifer's head hung low. Her eyes were dull with weakness. Vincent ran and leaned against the living skeleton, poking the heifer with his elbow. If the animal fell down, it would die. She cannot be helped, Nunkishu said finally. Bring the arrow and bleed her. Vincent returned with his bow, a blunted arrow, and 2 calabashes to hold blood. The animal would be bled so that she died more quickly, and so that more of her blood could be saved and mixed with milk for drinking later. While Nasha held the heifer's head, Nunkishu held on to the tail. Vincent drew back the dulled arrow with his bow and pierced the heifer's neck. Slowly the calabash filled with squirting blood. The heifer dropped to her knees, then collapsed onto her side. Vincent slashed her neck with a knife and filled another gourd. The last blood would pool into the chest, to be dipped out later. Go now and herd the cattle, Nunkishu said to Vincent. We will cut up this cow. Vincent looked at the herd. They were wild-eyed with hunger, bawling, milling about, crowding each other, and pushing their heads over each other's backs. Panina came to the corral holding a small calabash filled with soured milk and fresh blood. She handed the gourd to Vincent. Thanks, Mama, Vincent said. Panina nodded and walked silently to the opening of the corral. She pulled aside the thistle branches that kept out wild animals. Overhead, wind and dark clouds troubled the air. With his herding staff and spear in hand, Vincent prodded the cows forward. They were angry and clumsy with weakness. The wind swirled dust into small funnels that danced out ahead of the herd. There were 55 cattle, but Vincent did not need to count them. Maasai herders knew their herds so well that missing cows were like missing friends. Today would be hard. Until the cattle found grazing, there would be no rest. Vincent knew that short grasses lined the dried stream beds a morning's walk away. He drove the herd forward, whistling, yelling, and swinging his staff. He moved side to side to keep the herd bunched. Whenever a cow lunged from the herd, Vincent reined fast, striking the cow to drive it back. Cows obeyed only if the pain from his stick was greater than the pain already chewing at their empty bellies. When not crazy with hunger, a herd moved slowly like water flowing in a stream. This herd churned like a flood, twisting and fighting. Vincent worked to keep the restless herd clear of any death smell. Dead buffalo covered with vultures only made the herd move more crazy. Today, even the smell of ostrich droppings brought fear. Baboons crossed in front of the herd, babies clinging tightly to the mother's stomachs. Vincent listened for the loud barks that sounded whenever baboons grew scared. Often, baboons warned of leopards. 2 elephants passed nearby. Zebras and Thompson's gazelles dotted the bare hills. Even without rains, the land held life. Death of buffalo brought life for lions and vultures. Death of gazelles meant life for the cheetah. That was what made man different, Vincent thought. Man brought death but gave little life in return. When small patches of grass appeared, Vincent allowed the cattle to chew the dry blades. He sipped from his calabash and thought of Lebu's angry teasing. Was it wrong to not help kill the great Alarani? The troubled day passed slowly, bringing thunder but no rain. The thunder made the cattle drunk with fear. Finally, Vincent's long shadow warned him it was time to return to the engang. As he returned to whistle at the cattle, a deep growl chilled the air. A twig snapped. There was no other warning. A streak of yellow flashed from nearby shrubs and leapt onto a cow. The cow bawled as a lion bit into her neck. The herd churned in confusion. Vincent ran directly at the lion. He flung his spear hard, piercing the lion's hip. The lion screamed and let go of the cow. She bit at the spear, pulling it loose. Again she attacked the cow. Vincent picked up his spear and swung it hard across the lion's nose. The lion snarled and pawed at her bloody face. Spinning, she charged at Vincent. Vincent stood ready. When the lion leapt, he flung his spear into the lion's shoulder. He closed his eyes and ducked sideways. Her chilling growl filled the air as a big paw struck Vincent and tore skin from his back. The lion ripped the spear from her shoulder, with her mouth breaking the wooden handle like a twig. Long smears of blood streaked her body. She snarled one last time, then turned and ran. Her long yellow tail flicked a shrub like a whip, then she disappeared. Heart-pounding, Vincent stood. His back burned with pain, but he did not think of himself. The attacked cow lay dying. Something else was wrong. Without counting, Vincent knew 2 more cows were missing. He looked. In every direction stood bushes that could hide the missing cattle. Vincent chanted softly to the herd as he searched. It was no use. Already his shadow had grown too long. Sadly, he walked up to the injured cow and ended her suffering with his broken spear. Overhead, vultures circled. Vincent knew that by tomorrow only the cow's scattered bones would remain. He shouted loudly. He would have to drive the cows hard to reach the engang by dark. Holding his broken spear in one hand, he swung his staff and whistled. Vincent's worst fear had come true, and he shivered at the thought. Already Papa was angry. Now his son returned home to tell him that 3 cows had been lost. 3 cows. They would have paid for 1 year of learning at the wood school. End of chapter 6.